Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live Q&A session where we talk about U.S. immigration law. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. I'm headquartered in Los Angeles, but we help clients from all over the world get their immigration situation right, especially if they're getting married. There are people with extraordinary abilities and talents, and if they're starting small businesses in the United States, E-2 visas, L1s. And we help you out to just come and live your life in the United States. I know it's a hard time right now. There's always a lot of opportunity here, thankfully, and things do change. As you can tell, it's a hard time right now, but things are going to get better as they always do in this world. And so we're here for you for that. I'm live here on TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram, taking your questions like we do every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. This is general education only, not intended as individual legal guidance. For that, we got to schedule a private consultation. You can do it by going to jqqlaw.com/contact. Again, the website is jqqlaw.com/contact. Fill in some of your information there. We'll reply to you about what the next steps are and if we even handle your type of case. For example, we don't do asylum law, or if you're detained, we don't help on those cases. But we'll let you know by just contacting contacting us through the website. See you, e-user. One of our regulars says, "Good afternoon, Thank you so much for coming on the show again." We have a lot of regular viewers, and it's always good to have you all. You always ask really, really good questions. What the main thing that I'm seeing right now, it's going to be helpful for a lot of people, is adjustment of status interviews are coming quick. So if you have a case that's current, for example, marriage to U.S. citizen, all across the country, we're seeing people constantly getting interviews right now, all over the country: L.A., San Antonio, New York, Washington State. It's pretty crazy. We also got an I-751 removal of conditions case approved in. Where's the approval notice? Right here somewhere. I can't show it, but essentially, like in 6 weeks, it got approved. I never had that happen so fast before. So that's good. But on the other side, people are getting detained. There's chaos and mayhem and and troops on the street. So just try to say the good stuff in there. So if y'all have some questions, please let us know. You got a lot of people liking the live show. I appreciate it. Feel free to shoot out some questions. Again, I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. We handle marriage-based immigration. You can download our Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide for those interested in the fiancé marriage case by going to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Pioneer says, "I'm from a travel ban country. Our K1 approved petition has died. My is coming to me." I'm not sure what that means, but if you're from a travel ban country right now, unless there's a lawsuit that's successful or they make an exception, fiancé visas, which is the K1, are not usable. They're not going to issue the visa unless they issue a waiver for it, and we don't know how that's all actually going to happen. And last time they did a travel ban, there's really no waivers. They lied to essentially. But you might have to just get married into that case, which is still going to take years probably to complete. Tarek says, "What about SIJ Category 4 visa bulletin?" Well, we don't handle SIGIS cases, special juvenile SIJ cases, essential and juvenile cases. And with visa bulletin, that's up to the government what they want to do. I can't really comment about what's going on in the visa bulletin. Pioneer says, "Will we get married if it is faster way for I-130?" I can't give you guidance because getting married for I-130 is a whole big thing to talk about, but it potentially might be the way to go. But after you get married and start the case, you might get news that they made an exception for fiancé visa holders. I don't know. So it's a personal decision you got to make, somewhat of a gamble. But it may be just best to do that because you have a U.S. citizen partner, as if you get married to. They technically come within the exceptions to the travel ban. Having said that, after the interview, they can still put you in what's called administrative processing. This means you'll essentially get stuck until they do more reviews, and that could take a long time. So there's no good answers, unfortunately. Here, it's just kind of a nightmare situation. Having some issues right now with the Instagram feed. Let me see what's going on. You're already live. If you need to change the stream key, remove this destination and re-add it. Okay, let's remove and add Instagram again because it shows it's kind of frozen. So I do want to fix that because we have a lot of good questions on Instagram for those interested in the show. Okay, so feel free to ask your questions while we are doing that in the background. The other thing that's happening is getting a lot of calls for people being detained. Our office doesn't handle things were detained, but it's a really tricky situation with the way the laws are now. A lot of people that get detained don't have the ability to even leave being detained. They can't get a bond. And the administration is opening a lot of different prisons essentially to keep people and in long-term detainment and try to deport them. So it's a very, very scary situation. It's too much, too much. But it looks like we're heading to this insanity, and it's just going faster and faster into it. But I just want to be heads up. If you have potential like that, consult an immigration attorney ahead of time so you're prepared for the options there are and kind of plan out your life about how it can happen. If you got kids and stuff like that, it shouldn't be a surprise. You really talk ahead of time, plan out banking checking accounts, traveling, leaving, whatever necessary. It's easy for me to say that. I was going on a long trip, and beforehand, I was like just saving all my bank accounts and all that stuff. So if something happens, God forbid, people know what the families knows what's going on, and that's just a mental block on doing that. It's a lot of extra work, but it's the situation we're going through right now. So it's important to really plan this stuff out as much as possible. Morales says, almost 60 months waiting for my green card asylum base. Shall I wait more? They received RFE 8 months ago. Those cases could take a while. Haven't seen your case to see how strong or weak it is, or if they got the RFE notice. But 60 months, unfortunately, for a green card based on asylum isn't too long. Those have been pretty big delayed recently. For those watching on Instagram's telling me you're live, but I can't see my feed moving and stuff like that. So let me know if you guys can hear me. If you can't, just write something, type something, so I see it's actually working. Moana says hi. Moana, thanks so much, Krishna, and Amir Esquire, good to see ya. But it looks like on my end that Instagram's frozen, so I'm not sure what's going on. Exxon asked, can a green card holder based on asylum travel international with his passport? I don't recommend doing that. Historically, they haven't hassled people about that, but the regulations do say that if you're an asylee, you're not supposed to use the protections of your home country, which could include using their passport. You should get what's called a refugee travel document and use that. Again, historically, they just let it slide, but in this administration, that could just be held against you when you're entering the country with CBP at the port. Then you file for citizenship. They can say, oh, you traveled to your home country, or how did you travel with your old passport? Not supposed to. And these are easy ways to get people. So one thing that's really important for people to understand about U.S. immigration law is a lot of it, they have these rules, but it just depends on how they enforce them. So there's a lot of things that are the rules, but they're just not enforced for the last 40 years. 20 years, 40 years. But there's always the law, but they just say, okay, we're going to make a policy, internal decision that we're not going to do anything. And it's like a internal decision is not in the books. That's what makes it so hard to be an immigration lawyer. And people a lot of times think that when they do their cases, oh, it's just forms and stuff like that. But it's always more to it. It's such a fast moving thing. And one of them is what rules and laws they don't enforce and which ones they do, and which ones aren't rules and laws, but they enforce anyways. And that's what's so tricky and requires so much experience and knowledge and longevity in the immigration game to know them. And one of them, for example, is this, traveling as an asylee, going to your home country using the passport. It's always been the regulation that you do that, but they never enforced it, and it's always been okay. But now it's a strong likelihood they will. Either you're re-entering the country, if you're renewing your green card potentially, or maybe not citizenship stage, because they asked about travel history in the last 5 years. And if you got asylum and you go back to your home country or you do a lot of traveling, they say, where's the refugee travel document or the visas, the stamps? They use that. And if you don't have that, that could be potentially them saying, oh, you're misrepping or you violated your asylum status. Undo this. There's a whole heck of problems they can create for you. Well, Hannah asked, if we file citizenship through marriage and the case is denied for a 3-year rule, can I apply for a 5-year rule? You can based on that one issue alone, but why would you be denied for a 3-year rule? So it's we got to see what the denial reason is for so it doesn't repeat. But let's say you filed too soon for the 3-year rule and it's already 5-year at that point. Yeah, you could. But what was the denial reason for? We got to fix that issue. Paulie says, what are your experiences with filing for a 10-year green card after divorce with the petitioner? What's the success rate of doing it on your own with the waiver? These kind of questions about success rates and stuff are not good questions to ask because each case is different and it really depends on your case and you can't really judge based on averages, stuff like that. So I wouldn't look at it like that, Paulie. It's really how strong is your case? How well developed is your evidence, your documentation, what you've been doing? And you just base it on that. So statistics in that sense don't really help you. It's not a wise way, I would say, to look at it. You just need to have a strong case yourself, have a good lawyer on it. We have a lot of videos on this particular subject. I think you're talking about the I-751 removal conditions. I have 4 or 5 detailed videos about these kind of cases. We do them a lot where people have a 2-year green card because they got their green card based on marriage and marriage was new. And before, renewing the green card, the relationship goes bad and they're getting a divorce or are divorced. And have a lot of detailed videos about success I had and what we did. So go to our YouTube page, JQK Law or U.S. Immigration Talk. You catch them there. But it's really just about well prepping the case. Your case. Milana follows, apply for citizenship using 3-year rule during the application is in progress if we separate any issues and all reason during the process. So if you're going to apply for citizenship based on the 3-year rule, meaning you've been married and living with a U.S. citizen at the time of filing, and you've been a green card for 3 years, you could file for citizenship faster instead of 5 years at the 3-year mark. And then the subsequent rule to that is you have to be living together at the time of filing, but if you get separated after filing, but before approval, it's still technically okay. But you can't get divorced before your oath ceremony happens. So if you go to the interview or oath ceremony, you're divorced, that denies the case. So the timing of that becomes sensitive. You got to be mindful of. And always, the officers can have some discretion and stuff to challenge whether you're actually living together at the time of filing. So you need to document that really well. But it's in the USCIS policy manual. But what I found is a lot of attorneys don't know that rule or have read it differently. And I've seen the policy manual take this part out in and out. But generally, that's the rule. So you just got to have, again, it comes with documentation, how you could prove that you've been living together at the time of filing. So you got to be very mindful and prep for that. Paramount says, should we withdraw our K-1 visa petition? Paramount, this is individual legal guidance. Please schedule a consultation with the office. I can't tell you what to do because other than a couple of lines on TikTok, I don't know you, and it's just too much responsibility for me to just randomly tell you what to do in your life when I don't know you well enough, and I could cause problems. And I have to be responsible for things I do, so we got to sit and talk and make sure I give right advice. Juan says, usually citizenship processing time for 3 or 5 year rule. There's no usual time for processing time for either of those. It's really depending on your local field office, your case, and luck, and the officer you get. 3 months, 15 months, more, maybe less. Morales says, almost 60 months waiting. We already answered your question. Aki says, I was charged for communication offense 15 years ago. And am I in trouble? I got citizenship 15 years ago. I'm not sure what a communication offense is. AJ says, when using a co-sponsor in a marriage case due to partner not having strong income, does the sponsor need to pay any fees? No. They will if you use, government services, go to the hospital, or, get food stamps or something like that, or you could sue them and get money from the sponsor to pay for a basic amount. That's if you go do those stuff, you get fee. But just for the filing itself, right now, there's no fees or anything like that. Sheriff says, can I make a question? Go ahead. SUSA says, can you answer me, brother? I have a couple of questions. Well, you see everyone's asking questions. Just don't ask if you can ask a question. Willie says, can I go out of the United States if I had a wet reckless driving? Well, it depends on your background, what kind of immigration status you have, when you got the wet reckless. There's not enough information here for me to answer that. AJ says, do you need proof like photos with sponsor? No, the sponsor needs their financial documents. That's what they're primarily looking for, and filing an affidavit support from I-864. Molly says, will the effect of Nigerians will the effect of the Nigerians when Trump says that would affect people wanting to get married to a person in Nigeria? I'm not sure what your question is. All this stuff is going to have effect on people. Nigerians in particular, we don't know. There wasn't anything particular towards them, other than general, marriage fraud accusation or something like that. Or if they do a travel ban against Nigeria, but there's nothing overt that they've said. Lou says, what if I applied through marriage 2013 and everything approved? Now we might file for divorce. Can we? I don't know, Lou. And Stu said, I can't write the whole message. I don't know what to tell you. This is the software that TikTok has. Okay, June says, can a C1 visa alien transit, not a crew member, apply for adjustment status to marriage green card? C1 is tricky. Usually you cannot adjust status. You can't want a C1 in transit. But if you came in on it and not being a crew member, you have to show proof you weren't a crew member. There are some exceptions, but it's a risky maneuver to do. Salah says, hey to you too. Pyle says, if someone got deported from the United States, can they go to Australia or England? I'm not an expert in Australian or English immigration law. Mel says, hello, my I-751 and N400 have been pending for several months. My foreign passports will expire later this year. Should I renew it, which is time consuming, or should I wait for the interview? Pending for a couple months, several months is not as a normal timeline. Your passport has nothing to do with this stuff. You need to have ID, but you should probably always have passports, a real ID, and you might need it for travel. So it doesn't really matter for the immigration case per se if you're a green card holder, but you just renew it. Why not? It's the time. You've got to have a passport anyways. Is it still possible to file for citizenship through marriage? So you don't file for citizenship through marriage, you file for a green card. And yes, we do these cases every day. We get approvals every day. Go to our Instagram page, JQK Law Instagram page. We have samples of our redacted samples of our approval notices. Alakar says, I applied for I-751 2 years ago. I haven't heard anything yet. Is that the normal processing timeline? We should have got a receipt and maybe a fingerprinting appointment letter, a waiver of the fingerprinting appointment. But if you haven't heard anything from there, yeah, that's normal. 2 or 3 years. That's normal. Salah says, I have applied for adjustment of status on a DV diversity visa green card lottery. While in the status, everything is okay, but waiting for USCIS interview. What do you think? Can I get it successfully in California? I don't know your case. I don't know your background. I can't really judge based on the few things you told me. Al Dakar says, I applied for I-751. I already answered your question. Alex says, there is a Ukrainian lady at my work I'm dating and going to ask to marry. Is there anything I need to? Download our guide, Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. If she's Ukrainian, she may have come with a parole program that may be out. So you need to have an immigration consultation as soon as possible to figure out if she has TPS, if she has U4U, what her status is, how she entered. There's a lot of stuff you got to plan out ahead of time. So definitely schedule a consultation as soon as possible. jqqlaw.com/contact. MK says M400 3-year rule is under high scrutiny. I haven't seen that happen, but usually our clients have the documentation. So even if they do scrutiny, it doesn't really matter. There's nothing to scrutinize. Alex says, if I got charged and that was expunged 10 years ago, can Trump revoke my citizenship? Immigration doesn't recognize expungement, so that doesn't help at all. But it depends on what you were charged for, when it happened, what status you had. There's just not enough information here to be able to give an answer. Mohan says, I applied for I-75 removal conditions in September 2022. Okay, that's nearing. I mean, they're saying 3 to 4 years is easy they could take. Usually my cases don't go that long. You probably could have filed for citizenship at this point, but they give you a 4-year extension on purpose because they know it might take that long. Nick says, will you be discussing ICE detentions, deportation procedures, and outcomes? Any hope to receive? I already did talk about that briefly, Nick, but my office doesn't handle ICE detentions and deportation proceedings and stuff, so I don't really go too much in detail on that. Patel, one of our regulars, asking about visa processing. I have to ask family-based interview documents which one to check the interview coming. The question is not well written, but Patel's wrong me. I don't have any answers for you. Contact the embassy if you think they're taking too long. Salah says, appreciate your time. You're welcome. It's best to have an immigration that knows your case, Salah. It just talks with you because you can have birth certificate errors. You can have violations of your past you're not aware of. You might have like your DS-160 incorrect information. You might have had certain violations you're not aware of. You might have filled out your adjustment of status application incorrectly. We got to check your high school records, college school records. A lot of stuff we got to double check. So that's why it's good to have an immigration on deck. Sometimes people don't pay the KCC fee in time. Or just don't pay, not realize they can do it. They designate they want to do constant processing, but they don't. There's a lot of mess that people do in these kind of cases. So it's good to have a lawyer, at least one you can talk with briefly or for consultation. SUSA says, my passports are with the embassy since June 13th, 2025. I-131 humanitarian parole approved, not issued yet. Okay, there's no question there. Moto says, is military parole in place still available? What's approval ratings like approximately? I don't track approval ratings because it doesn't make a difference. But some people get it, some people don't. It really depends on your case. Because when I've had this question a lot, people ask about approval ratings. Each case is different. So like people have issues. Like a lot of people file military parole in place on their own, and they're subject to a thing called the permanent bar. Because they enter the United States and are out of status for more than a year, leave, and then come back without permission. And that makes them subject to a permanent bar, which they will not, if they know about it, USCIS will, they'll deny the military parole in place. But if you look at the statistics, there's a bunch of denials. And so like a person who doesn't have this permanent bar issue, these statistics don't really talk to them because they don't have that issue. But the general statistics are just widespread kind of thing. So this idea that people ask about what is average and that it's not a helpful number to know. It's just no use for it. It's like me saying how many people like apples or oranges. It's just like what that doesn't have a bearing to what I'm doing. The question of whether they're still approving them, yeah, that's a good one because like sometimes they shut things down. They generally are. Some field offices are, some are not. So it's more about which field office is approving them. And I don't handle military parole in place. There's like 80 field offices. So you got to find someone at your local field office that does these regularly and could tell you, and you can see. So there's a lot of nuance that goes into all this. Why are I-751s taking so long? Because the government has very few officers on it. They don't see it as a priority, the I-751. They say you have a green card, you have the extension notice, you can travel, work, all that kind of stuff. We'll get to you when we get to you. That's what their thinking is. Hello Kitty says, how long is the process to become a U.S. citizen as of July 2025? It depends on the local office in your case. Clap says, I have my interview coming up. We have a big age gap, but we have joint account pics. Okay, good luck. Leaky says, is ICE looking to pull expunged records? They don't need to do that. They don't recognize expunged records. It's just they look over. I'm not sure what they're exactly. They don't tell us what they're doing. But they're probably going to have an AI going through all old records or something. Do we have enough? Thanks. Okay. I don't know. I haven't reviewed your documents. I can't really tell you. Alice says, how long does it take to get the green card in person after they're approved? Usually a week or two, but sometimes it takes months. Cat Mom says, I'm scared. Should I try to get my citizenship? Suppose ICE is there for the interview. Cat Mom, depends on if you have issues or not. If you have no issues, there's nothing to be afraid of. If you have issues, then yeah, there's something to be afraid of. But just don't be scared to be scared. It's like going to the doctor. I don't want to go to the doctor because I'm afraid what they're going to tell me. Well, okay, you can just stay and be afraid at home, or you can talk to the doctor to do the test and say you're good or you're not good. If you're not good, what you need to do. Moto says, is the military pro? Answer that question. How long can an EAD be approved? How long does it take? It depends on the case type. How long is it approved for? A lot of times for 5 years nowadays. How long does it take to get approved for a green card application through marriage? Well, it depends on if you're married to a citizen or green card holder. If you're doing adjustment of status or consular processing. If you need a waiver, if you don't need a waiver. So it just let's say 3 months to 5 years average, or maybe 7 years average. It's such a wide range because we need more information. So if you're asking this kind of question, please schedule a private consultation. Are they doing interviews on I-751? For some cases, yes. For some, no. Yolan said, do you anticipate spousal visas I-130 process have decreased? There's no way to anticipate. They had, during Biden administration, they said we're going to make 6 months. Every case is going to be done in 6 months. Never got near that timeline. So I don't have a crystal ball. I can't answer these kind of questions like that. Caroline says, can one travel next month out of USA for vacation while coming back in September? Will it be a problem? It depends. I don't know anything about you, Caroline. If you have criminal history, if you have violations, if you lied, if you're a drug dealer, yeah, these things would be problematic. Not to accuse you of anything, but the airlines are still flying. People are still coming and going. So this is just too big a fear that you're having. It's really specific to each case. And because I don't know anything about you, I can't really, talk about that. There's nothing I can say. M. Honey says, how long does it take to receive an NFRG interview date? Mine is more than 1 year. It depends on your field office. It's up to them. Cat says, I'm scared. Should I try to get my citizenship? Suppose ICE is there, no criminal record. If you're scared, scared to go to church, they say. But going back to reality, schedule a consultation. Let's talk about your background and see if there's anything to be scared about. M. Honey says, how long? Yeah, answer your question. Oh, we're getting a lot of repeat questions. Can you hold a green card too long? No. Unless it's a 2-year green card. You didn't renew it. Okay, I'm going to have to block M. Hanif, unfortunately. Abusing the system. Mute. All right, let's get a couple more questions near the end of the show. All right. Diana says, hello, may I ask if my husband has the extension I-751 can't travel outside the United States? Generally, a personal extension can travel as attended, but whether your husband can, I don't know. I don't know about how strong his case is. I don't know if she has criminal history. I'm not sure if he had previous violations. I'm not sure if he did misrepresentation ever. I'm not sure if his name matches some other person in the world that has bad record. I'm not sure if he has military history that's bad, and he might be like from Iran and part of some organization. They just became aware of that. So this is for general kind of questions, and I guess that question is good because it gives people an idea of what we're looking for in a consultation. But you really need to talk with the lawyer who's dedicated, is going to talk with you, ask questions to try to peel that level, the layers of the onion to see what's going on and if there's a problem. Can green card applicants still apply for a waiver fee? In some kinds of cases they do, but our office doesn't do waivers, fee waivers. So it's not something I dive into deeply. Can you pick me up? I can explain my cases, please. No, I can't pick you up. Denise says, my husband has a misdemeanor from 20 years ago. Is he a risk to get residency? It depends on what the residency is. And if why is he waiting, what the misdemeanor is for? And then why is he not applied already for 20 years? So there's a lot of red flags that we got to check. And so schedule a private consultation, please. Takeoff says, I have an F3 petition. That's a married adult child of a U.S. citizen. How does it take to schedule an interview after I pay all the fees? Now, it really depends on your priority date and when the visa bulletin is current, as well as the embassy you're going to and how delayed they are. So there's too many factors in there we have to know to give a general idea. Giselle says, should you apply for citizenship if there's a DUI as teenager that got a low-class felony? Low-class felony is not good, and then we have to see how you got your green card in the first place. So, Giselle, we got to get the court record there, what happened. That's a troubling situation. So definitely you should consult an immigration as soon as possible, because even as a green card holder, that could be a problem nowadays, especially if you travel. So definitely schedule a consultation. We need all the records from the court and what happened, all that kind of stuff, and be able to discuss it. Diogo says, is there any truth to the earlier that green card interviews the better chance of getting? No, it's not. They're just scheduling time stuff earlier than ever. It doesn't have a positive or negative effect. It's just they're trying to get these cases out. All right, everybody. I'll take 1 or 2 more questions because we started the show late today. But again, I'm immigration lawyer John Castrovi. I help couples, family members get marriage, fiancé visas, people with extraordinary ability, talent, get NIW, EB1A green cards, as well as small-time investors starting small businesses or subsidiaries of their company with the E2 and L1 program. Diego says, I tried. Mine's at 7:30 a.m. Haha. So yeah, it doesn't have any meaning. It's just that's where the computer scheduled it. Okay, thank you. We got a lot of people on Instagram watching. I appreciate it. My video shows frozen there, so I'm not sure if it's actually working or not, but hopefully it is. And as always, YouTube and everyone it is. El Cabrito says, hello, does the travel ban impact K-1 visas for Iranians? Right now it does. Unless there's a lawsuit, they change it. K-1 applicants do not fall within any exceptions of Trump's travel ban that primarily targets Iranians and Venezuelans too, and a lot of other countries, but like those are the big population ones. And so for Iran in particular, there's an exception for immediate relatives, parents, spouses, and minor children of U.S. citizens. There's an exception for certain minorities and religious and ethnic minorities that undergo, discrimination in Iran. But other than that, it's you got to get a waiver approved for K1, and the actual procedures for getting a waiver, if they're actually going to do it or not, it's unclear. To low chance of getting that. So a lot of people with K1 visas, potentially the way to do is just get married and do a marriage case. So I'd recommend scheduling a private consultation so I can talk with you and your partner about it. Just getting married itself is a big headache. We got to look at the birth certificates too, see what's going on in there. So there's a lot going on. P says, is fiance visa better this time with Trump? Listen, it depends on the embassy you're dealing with, depends on your facture cases. So it's not better or worse. It really depends on what needs you have. Most of the time, it's better not to do a fiance visa. Like this gentleman right here who got a travel ban. If he had just done the marriage green card, would have been better. But it really depends on your situation, what your goals are, what risks you're going to take on, all that kind of stuff. So it's really always immigration. At the end of the day, it depends on the person you're dealing with, and you and your spouse, your partner, your family. And so it's always based on what you guys are doing, what you need. Generalized information is not really helpful. Caroline says, as a citizen, no criminal record, can travel next month vacation. If you're a citizen and you don't, there's no reason for citizens to have a problem. Emma Sadi says, recently, many Iranian asylum applicants have been receiving court dates, even filed merits hearings very quickly. Does it mean they're all being fast-tracked for removal? Yeah, pretty much. Quiet Word says, how safe is it to travel internationally with a conditional marriage green card? It really depends. I've just been saying this a lot today, but it depends on your background and what's going on. If you're worried about it by asking this question, then don't travel. Johnny says, how long should it take for the I-130 to be approved? Depends, Johnny, on what kind of I-130 you have. Is it for parent, spouse, or minor child of U.S. citizen? Is it for spouse of a green card holder? Is it for a sibling of U.S. citizen? Is it for minor or adult, unmarried or married children of green card or citizen? There are different categories that go involved. So it really depends. You got to give more facts to get better answers. And so I know it's hard. People don't know that stuff, but that's what makes it hard to get very detailed answers. And a lot of times, it really doesn't matter how long the I-130 takes. It's more about your local embassy, how long. That's where a lot of the time is going to come out. But I guess if you're married to a U.S. citizen, the I-130 is going to take a little bit of time. All right, everybody, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, I'm immigration lawyer John Kasravi. Please let us know if you want to schedule a consultation. Go to our website, jqklaw.com/contact. Again, that's jqklaw.com/contact. We'll be back again next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, if you subscribe and follow us on Instagram, and really YouTube is the best place, but LinkedIn or TikTok, when we do pop-ups, you'll be getting notifications to come in, join, and ask your questions there. Or again, best yet, just schedule a private consultation so we can actually talk about your case and dive into your personal life. All this stuff is needed in a private setting. Thank you so much. God bless. Be safe, and I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.